Hello YouTube, my name is Plazukas and today's video is going to be on the PlayStation 5 Pro. If anybody was doubting that the Pro would exist, I think based on the PlayStation 4 Pro, the fact that Sony is still in the PlayStation console business, and over the weekend there were specs that were leaked but just not confirmed, and now there are many people who have seen the leak and who have confirmed it, so this is most likely with some variations, going to be the PlayStation 5 specs for when it launches. Now, here's the biggest caveat. Because console architecture is very different than PC architecture in the sense of being able to optimize the hardware for the specific thing that a console does, a lot of these systems, even based on their specs, can have you conclude a certain outcome. But the performances could increase because ultimately, if you are building something that is a dedicated system that has dedicated specs that you have internal developers for, you can maximize a lot of these numbers to get more percentages and more performances out of them than what maybe the analysts will say. I am not a tech guy when it comes to numbers, and you're going to have to go to Digital Foundry to find any kind of breakdowns on what they actually think analytically of what could potentially be performances increases between the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation Pro upgrade. So just take everything I say for the next, 10, 15 minutes with a grain of salt. The system memory. Standard PlayStation 5 has a 448 gigabyte with a 14 GT speed. This is obviously their SSD architecture, a very well-known, well-analyzed and praised architecture that the Sony has implemented. They're actually increasing this by almost 100, and that's going to give them 18 more GTs compared to 14. Apparently, a 20 increase over the standard console. There's a note here, as outlined, is that a PlayStation 5 Pro's system memory is more efficient than the standard consoles, so the bandwidth may increase by over 28%. This is what I'm trying to say, is that when they do these console iterations, they have the ability to min-max these numbers more than some PCs do, as long as it doesn't overheat or crash the system. The CPU is identical to the standard PlayStation 5. However, the Pro has a high CPU frequency mode, which takes the CPU to 3.85 gigahertz, a 10% increase over the standard console. There's a note here: in high CPU frequency mode, more power is allocated to the CPU and will downclock the GPU by around 1.5%, roughly 1% lower GPU performance. Now, the 1% lower GPU performance may seem like a downgrade, and it is, but I believe if you increase some CPU work from some of the games that you make and you decrease the amount that it does GPU-wise, that 1% is negligible. And when you see the GPU specs, it's going to create the potential difference in the graphical fidelity that you'll get from that side. Because games that are optimized will effectively use both processing and graphics effectively. They will be able to have some of the systems run by the processor and then other systems run by the GPU. And then obviously there's other aspects that you can use. There's tricks in the gaming industry that I don't know much about, but apparently you can use. Audio. The ACV in the PlayStation 5 Pro runs at a higher clock speed over the standard PlayStation 5, resulting in the AMC having 35% more performance, more convolution, reverbs can be processed, more FFTs or IFFTs can be processed. Now, something of note, Sony bought a audio company recently, and they've been acquiring a lot of audio companies, and they've been in the audio scene for quite a while. So they've continuously had a focus in sound quality and audio quality. So this doesn't surprise me, and this could mean that whatever company they did buy, and I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but it was a very highly regarded, highly praised audio company, they could be implementing that as a high-end product in the future, and specifically for the PS5 Pro version, and then any iterations after that with the PS6. GPU previously revealed, rendering 45% faster than PS5, 2 to 3 ray tracing, 4 times in some cases, 33.5 teraflops, which I think is triple of what they're doing teraflops now. I don't know what that is. PSSR, PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution upscaling, antilization solutions. This is similar to DSSR. It's just their own proprietary stuff that they're using to upscale stuff. Support for resolutions up to 8K is planned for future SDK versions. So apparently that's not going to be off the that's not going to be off the boat or off the truck, but it's going to eventually be something that they implement through an update firmware option. Custom machine learning architecture. This is actually the biggest advancement in my opinion. Much like, the revolutions of DSSR movements, in the sense that you can basically, what it does is it takes what is happening inside the game and does computations to ensure that if it's either resolution or frames or graphics or something else going on, that it'll account for that in some way to adjust everything to make it look seamless, and it does it marginally to the eye, so you don't actually experience it, even though you kind of do experience it, and you can see the differences between next gen games and old gen games that don't have it. It's, for all of its benefits, it does have some downsides, right? So this is a new element to that. The custom machine learning architecture could be revolutionary in so many aspects, and I'm sure it's a very basic custom learning machine, whereas it's not allowed to do everything, and it's not allowed to be overly iterative, because they want to control the environment that is the PlayStation 5 Pro. And so they need some limits to make sure that it's within a certain parameter so they can develop things for it. But what it's going to do is probably just help with the graphical load, the processing load, or anything else that happens with the home screen UI, or selecting tabs, or quick resume, those kind of things, right? So it could be a very big evolution, and this is just the first iteration, which is good for them, because obviously PS6 and Xbox are going to iterate on this greatly with their next hardware in 4 to 5 years, or sooner. AI accelerator supporting 300 TOPS of 8-bit computation, 67 teraflops of 16-bit floating point. So again, this is another AI system. Not sure how different it is from the custom machine learning. Maybe the custom machine learning is there to ensure that the AI doesn't get out of control, and that the AI is there to, take some of that load. Again, I think this is the same. I think they're basically doing the same kind of thing. They're working in tandem to each other. It's really exciting. I don't know like top level stuff about how this all works, and I don't know anything about the AI other than what it could do for games when they're running on your PlayStation 5 Pro, and to help with alleviate some of the stress that comes with GPU bottlenecking, CPU bottlenecking, and stuff like that. And then just obviously memory allocations, which I don't think it changes that. But the fact that they're going to add an extra 100, and that's going to give you 18 gigawatts, I think that's good, because the SSD in the PlayStation is already something that is excelling, in my opinion. In addition, 30 WGPT running specialized BVHA traversal shaders versus WGPs running BVH4. So there's an increase of about double, which could help with lighting potentially. This could be the thing that allows them to do the ray tracing part of it. It is also understood that as a means to make the PlayStation 5 Pro as competitive, not my phrasing here, as possible, it will have a detachable disk drive, which will be identical to the latest iteration of the standard PlayStation 5 and 1 terabyte of storage space. And so this is the part where I think for pricing, they've had to make hard decisions. The fact that they're not fully embracing digital is really good in my opinion. I think people who want to own physical, want to continue to invest in that platform, is extremely important to give them an avenue. I don't think PlayStation 6, I don't think the next iteration of Xbox is going to go physical. I think it's going to be all digital. But the good news is that this generation, they're going to still commit to that. I think partly they have to, because they're obviously going to, and we're going to talk about this in depth here in a minute, have to allow for all the other PlayStation 5 games that have already come out on discs, and then potentially any backwards compatibility that's built in, which may actually deal with the AI and the machine learning stuff. Let's see. Let's hope. That would be insane if you can just put in a PlayStation 3 disc and it automatically does backwards compatibility. That would be a selling point in itself. That's just speculation. I mean, this is all speculation because this is all leak stuff, but currently the PlayStation 5 is running on SKD 9.0, and SKD 10 is expected in fall, which is the current targeted release date of the console. So there's going to be obviously iterations for this from the developer side. Once developers get tested, the R&D looks at it, increases some of the numbers, and allows for developers to really maximize some of the bells and whistles for the game. So that's about it for the PlayStation 5 Pro specs. But now the fun part. Now the part that I want to talk about more than anything. I had to get through the boring part to talk about this part. What that could mean for PlayStation 5 games going forward. Now, obviously, they're going to run on the PlayStation 5 base console. There is about 50 million of them in circulation. They're not going to take away from that ecosystem. We have seen many of the new games come out be PlayStation 5 exclusive, not these multi-generational PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 games. So now we're going to see PlayStation 5, PlayStation Pro. This also is in line with Sony saying that PlayStation 5 is at its halfway mark, and they don't expect it to pick up from there. And I think their expectation is that when they release the PlayStation 5 Pro, that's the one that will continue to increase year-end and what they're going to need as a company for them to continue to generate more profit than they did the year before. So they'll have two systems in circulation plus their breadwinner, which is the PS4, ultimately, right? So here is the part about the games that I think is truly interesting. And just before that, because that's a tease, let me just say, I mean, when I first looked at these stats, I thought they were a little bit better than they were, but I still think this is going to be priced relatively high. They're going to try to sell this like a base PC would be priced. And I think that's between $799 and $999. I think that's insane to think about, but based on all the other inflationary costs, the fact that the PlayStation 5 has not seen a reduction in its price point, and they've been very stern on the fact that they're not going to reduce the price and that they're not going to reduce the price of the PlayStation 5 because manufacturing costs are still very high. I don't see this selling for anything less than $799 because I think if they do it well, and I think they will, they've had a history of this, if they market it and they show comparisons of what a base PC version is, which is $799, $999 if you go to any kind of Walmart store, I think they can make a case for it. Now, obviously, PCs are different. You can do a lot more things on PC than you can the PlayStation, and I don't think there's going to be any iteration of the PlayStation 5 Pro that's going to allow you to have it just on your computer screen, and you're going to be able to use it like a PC. Nobody's going to use it for that. So that part of it is not going to be effective, and I don't even think they'll even market it like that. And here's the part that they can market. 4K, 60 frames, guaranteed. That is better than any base PC that you can buy on the market. That requires a $2,000 buy-in at current market levels. That is a huge value for anybody that's going to want to buy a PlayStation 5 over a PC. If they can literally give the consumer a potential value save of $1,400, and obviously that's not nearly accurate because PCs do more at a 2,000 base level than just play video games. Clearly, right? They process, they can edit, they can do a lot of other things that people want from a PC. But from a gaming-centric point of view, from a home screen, from a recording or like streaming site, from watching TVs or watching movies and stuff like that, I think that's very provocative. 4K, 60 frames, ray tracing, all the bells and whistles to cater to those people that are having that experience at a $2,000 base PC price for $700 or $800 or $900. I think that's very, very aggressive. And I think that is extremely successful. So I can see it anywhere between $699 and $999. I don't think it would be $999 because that's too close to a comparison to PC, in my opinion. So it's going to have to be between $699 and $799. That is my expectation. So now we get to talk about the games. Horizon Forbidden West is going to release on PCs relatively shortly. Ghost of Tsushima is going to release on PCs relatively shortly. That is not a coincidence. I believe that the R&D and the people they have hired, whether it be Guerrilla Games, whether it be Sucker Punch, or some third-party software developer that has been porting these to the PC, has also done their research and done the homework to be able to maximize the additional specs that you would get from these PC ports that are going to be Horizon and Ghost of Tsushima. And I think they're going to be so comparable on the PlayStation Pro that you're not going to be able to see too much difference between the PC side from a very from a very high end perspective to what you'd get from the PlayStation 5 Pro. I think that's extremely attractive, and I think they're going to showcase that through various trailers, and whenever they present the PlayStation 5 Pro, this is going to be one of the biggest selling points, is that the graphical fidelity is going to be 60 frames, 4K, ray tracing, all the bells and whistles. And I don't know enough about PC to know all the stuff. SSD's already there. Sound's going to be there. That is extremely attractive. And at a $699, that's insane, by the way. That's a really good price. $799 is a little bit more difficult, but I think they could pull it off. It may turn out to be a PlayStation 3 issue where it's like too expensive for the market, but I don't think so. I think they can get away with it specifically, and I think they're gonna probably do $699. They're trying for $699. I guarantee you that's their ultimate goal is $699. But I just don't think the market allows for that, and then for them to still make any kind of profit in the future. So it's got to be $799 based on everything we've seen. And people are upset that they think that they don't need an upgrade. I do think they need an upgrade, but I only think they need an upgrade if they're able to maximize the potential of it. And I'm still on the fence if they can do it, because a lot of their recent hardware, the PSVR 2, a great system, but it recently came out that they're discontinuing that product potentially. So they have a history of doing that as well, just like Google does, and that's sad. But this is their main platform, PlayStation. This is where all the money goes into. This is where most of their money is made. So I think they're going to do it right. And I think previous generation games, the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 games that are first party, are going to look really good. Now here's where it gets crazy. Any new games that are released: GTA 6, Ghost of Tsushima 2, Horizon Online Multiplayer. Could be Conquered. It could be the new multiplayer game that comes out on PlayStation 5 Pro. Bungie potentially could be tapping into this now as first party. These games could launch exclusively on the PlayStation 5 Pro. I highly doubt it. Hugely speculative. Probably moronic to say because of the 50 million install base for the PlayStation 5. But I think one of their first party releases is going to take a gamble on the newest architecture. I list GTA 6 because if you've known anything about Rockstar Games, is that they're willing to push the limits of their architecture. The only reason why I think they will still develop for the PlayStation 5 OG is because they still have to market for the Xbox, and they cannot potentially have it that high of a specs and still run on Xbox Series X unless they find a way. And this, I guess, leads me to the next caveat, is that GTA 6 will definitely not run on the Series S, which is a majority of the Xbox users. So maybe they're just hedging their bets and saying, you know what? We'll use cloud technology to run on Xbox. We'll use cloud technology to run on Nintendo. Who knows? Maybe that's what they're planning on too. They'll use some form of cloud technology. I think that's another aspect that nobody's looking into with the Nintendo Switch 2, reportedly. So maybe GTA 6 waits. And maybe they're waiting to release it because the PlayStation 5 Pro doesn't come out until the holidays or a little bit after. And they can't reveal that, obviously, because, it's all just hush-hush secret stuff that they all work towards. And this even is more speculative, knowing that Ghost of Tsushima should have already been revealed. And the fact that it hasn't been revealed may indicate, because that is the one studio that didn't have a live service game in the works and had to pivot, which could indicate that they've had a full development cycle on potentially new iteration hardware. I highly doubt they're going to make a PlayStation 5 Pro exclusive, though. But the amount of fidelity and performance that you're going to get from that upgrade, from a Ghost of Tsushima, from a Horizon multiplayer, from potentially Bungie stuff, from Grand Theft Auto 6, is going to be insane. It's going to be higher than your ports of Horizon Forbidden West. It's going to be better than your ports of Ghost of Tsushima. It's going to be better than your ports of God of War Ragnarok. And those are going to be good. Those are going to be PC, if not better, ports. Don't get me wrong. Those are going to be fine. But that's where I stand right now. I am so excited for the PlayStation 5 Pro. And I think it being marketed at $799 based on everything I know about PC architecture, base levels sell at that price all the time. And I could imagine a case where they could market it effectively and it could be valuable Not to mention they can always rely on the PlayStation 5 as their backup for 500. So I see it higher. I see it at 799, aggressively 699, but I don't think the market allows for it with inflations and the chip shortages and just the potential future proofing of the console. The fact that we haven't had anything but Blue Point, again, that could be the reveal trailer. Listen, this is a video in itself. Bloodborne remade, 60 frames per second, 4K resolution, ray tracing, greatest audio in the world. Insane. Looking better than Demon Souls on the PlayStation 5, which looks absolutely fucking amazing. They could also have an upgrade for that as well to make it even better looking. Charge $10 more now. There's so much potential here. So much potential for them to do it and do it well. Those are my high-level thoughts as best I can compilate them, as best as I can comprehend them. This will not be the last PlayStation 5 Pro video I do, and I actually just want to talk about the specific games themselves singly, individually. But for now, I'll end this video. My name is Plazookas. If you like this content, like, subscribe. I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.